We are currently living in the golden century where computers took over most of our difficult jobs. Life is becoming easier by day. What if we say this society is going to end by 2040? We are not kidding. MIT has strongly bet that our society will end by 2040. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology came up with this scary conclusion in 1972. What do you think would lead to such a drastic destruction? First thing is that we are running behind economic growth, and during which we are forgetting about our environment and society. MIT claims that this will end our society. We couldn't agree more with this statement. We will tell you why. Human civilizations have formed decades ago, and they have been disrupted too. There are 4 major reasons which cause civilization destruction, according to historians. These are social and cultural issues, political issues, environmental issues, and obviously economic issues. And today these empires are just in school students' textbooks. Will our civilization also get into a page of a history textbook? But unlike other famous human societies like the Romans, Aztec Empire, we are very much developed. What happened between Russia and Ukraine? We will be able to know about it and see what happened from wherever we are sitting. That is because of the internet. Years before, even the ruler of a kingdom could not even imagine such a service. In fact, we're living in the most peaceful age. We are not making fun of this society. Of course, terrorism, robbery, conflicts, rape, everything is happening in different parts of our society, but compared to wars of past centuries, there is no violence at all. Thanks to the combination of our education, technology, and cooperation between world countries. Apparently, a question will arise in our minds. How reliable is this information based on a study of 1972? Well, it's true this study output was obtained in the form of graph lines. They used a computer program called World 1 and checked for a time frame between 1900 and 2060. Jerry Foster was the author at that time, and he considered numerous variables. 5 important ones being population, industrial output, food production, available resources, and pollution. All these variables are depending on one another. If there is a decline in population, there will be a decline in food production, or the other way round. He stressed on the population explosion from the 1900s until 2000. After that, it showed a reduction in rate. In contrast to population, just look at the graph on quality of life. Until the 1940s, it was a spike. Then it went down till 2020. From there, another spiking point started. That is why 2020 is called the tipping point of our civilization. The 1972 study was again dusted from the archives by a senior director of KPMG. What are the current trends that we all are following? Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and so on. No one is much bothered about how much resources are left for our survival. This very negligence will be the weapon of our death. The environment will respond violently after a threshold. That is why scientists came up with a deadline, 2040. By 2040, we must have reached the peak of economic growth, and then it's a steep dip. Hence, the population will face shortage of food and other resources. Don't think this will end the human race like a switch-off button. The human race will suffer. This sounds brutal, we know, but it is probably the reality we will face. Slowly, the standard of our living will go down. Can you accept the reality where you have to carry an oxygen cylinder wherever you go since the atmosphere contains toxic gases? Scientific studies need to be re-evaluated to check if there are any noticeable variations from the initial observations. Likewise, this 1972 observation was considered for restudy by the Sustainability and Dynamic System Analysis lead at KPMG, Geir Harrington. In our dedication to make life smooth, we are forgetting something. By 2040, the expected growth of our society will decline. This means even Harrington's agreeing to MIT's analysis even after nearly 10 years. Harrington's new study gazes at 10 key variables: population, fertility rates, mortality rates, industrial output, food production, services, non-renewable resources, persistent pollution, human welfare, and ecological footprint. All of these are super critical for a society. She discovered that the most recent data most closely corresponds to two specific scenarios: BAU2 or business as usual and CT or comprehensive technology. BAU2 and CT scenarios indicate an end in growth within a decade or so from now. This is the conclusion of the study. Both scenarios suggest that continuing business as usual is not possible. This means that if we will travel just the same way for the next decade, our society will break down. Even with novel technological development and implementation, LTG's model of business as usual will surely lead to drops in industrial capital, agricultural output, and welfare levels within this century. It is brainstorming time. The solution has to come from each of us. In the comprehensive technology CT scenario, economic decline continues around this date with a variety of negative consequences. Don't worry about the societal collapse here. Unfortunately, the most optimistic pathway, known as SW or stabilized world, follows a sustainable trajectory and experiences the smallest declines in economic growth. There would be an amalgamation of advances in technology and widespread investment in public health and education. Although both the business as usual and comprehensive technology scenarios predict the end of economic growth in around 10 years, only the BAU2 scenario shows a clear collapse pattern, whereas CT suggests the possibility of future declines being relatively soft landings, at least for humanity, according to Harrington. Harrington concludes in her study, indicating that the future is uncertain. That's it. We have to accept the truth, but more than that, it's time to think for survival chances. Giving up mentality should only be the last thing to consider. Let us see what Harrington has got to say to help mankind. It's ironic to say that whatever she's implying is already known to us, but we have never made that happen. Pursuing continued economic growth for the sake of it will be pointless. Harrington's study finds that advancements in technology and increased investments in public services could not only steer clear of the risk of collapse, but also lead to a fresh, prosperous, and secure civilization. However, we only have the next decades to change course. At this point, the data most closely remembers the CT and BAU2 scenarios, which indicate a slowing and ultimate halt in growth over the next decade or so. The limits of growth was the basis of a 1972 study. It focuses on exponential economic and population growth with a stable supply of resources. The World 3 computer simulation was used for this, and it gave the possibility of a collapse. The LTG works suggests that this window of opportunity is rapidly closing. Human activity can be regenerative and our productive capacities can be transformed, as explained by Harrington. She noticed how promptly we reacted to a pandemic like COVID-19 with effective vaccines and proper measures. So this 2040 scenario, demanding roughly 1/10 of our efforts from the pandemic scenario. If you are given to write the English alphabet, it won't be as tough for you compared to the time when you were 5. Just like that, however, the necessary adjustments will not be easy at first and will bring transition challenges. But a viable and welcoming future is still possible. Let us be hopeful like Harrington. According to the best available data, what we decide in the next 10 years will decide the long-term fate of human civilization. Our actions of today will decide the fate of our successors. Although the odds are stacked against us, Harrington sees a rapid rise in environmental, social, and good governance targets as cause for optimism. This means a shift in thinking in both government and business levels. She said that the most significant outcome of her research is that it is not too late to build an entirely sustainable civilization that benefits everyone. Is this 2040 societal collapse a real thing to get scared? Years before, many of us feared an apocalypse by 2012, but here we have passed a decade thereafter. We even bravely faced a dreadful pandemic. We are still moving on. Here it is better to stick on to the adage, prevention is better than cure. Give us a like if you agree. Also, share your views on this sensitive topic. Hope to see you soon with another video. Bye.